So I thought, it'd be kind of fun just to do a quick video talking about like a movie pitch for a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I thought this would be a fun, quick video. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to do this video as just like a quick... Now, I did do one a few years back. I think I can't even find the video now. I know I didn't delete it, but like, it's out there in the ether. Anyway, I thought would be a fun new, like, updated version of this movie pitch. So, yeah. So let's get started. So for this movie to work, I kind of need to remove all the continuity from everything from outside of Nightmare on Elm Street. This isn't a total reboot, but it does discontinue from all the other continuities, like from second movie to then on. Even Dream Warrior, sadly. But in order for this to work, this kind of needs to be done, and that's been kind of the new thing with horror movies, is just cut off from the sequels, make a new timeline. Although, again, Halloween's been kind of doing that for a few years now, so who can really, say. I thought this would be kind of fun and kind of really play with some elements that were kind of used in Halloween 2018 but never really expanded upon. So this story pretty much follows a dude who is a podcaster who's part of a criminal podcast. And he's this dude would not be a good person. He's more or less like getting like, he's kind of like a mixture of Alex Jones meets, Richard Dees from Stephen King's The Night Flyer, where this would be a hero where you're just kind of waiting for Freddy to kill, or you're waiting for, like, this is not a good person to follow. A lot of this inspiration comes from Stephen King's story, The Night Flyer, which was his second vampire story. Also, really good, underrated movie. It's out here on YouTube. You can go watch it. Miguel Ferreira plays a really good, horrible human being. And a lot of this inspiration came from The Night Flyer. So, in this story... what we have is a podcaster who was a former investigative journalist who got in trouble with the law for crossing a line and, essentially one too many times tampering with evidence, just so he could get his shot, a perfect shot in his story. And also, he's been dealing with drugs. So now he's just been doing a podcast, and no one can really stop him. And he's been basically, like, he badmouths cops, he badmouths detectives, and basically talks about, like, all these different murders that they've never been able to solve. And the one he's talking about this season, the big one, is the Elm Street murders. The Elm Street murders are handled like there was a killer, and they all were blamed. There was no, like, those murders were never, like, there was no proper investigation. Like, all those murders happened, and the killer was never found. Like, they basically have, John Saxon's character thrown under the bus. I would have him, like, thrown under the bus, like, saying, like, oh, he was an alcoholic, he didn't do his job, there was, like, clear tampering, and he makes a connection with, Nancy. He basically, like, throws a lot of dirt on Nancy, because all of those killings were around her friends, and she was also, the guy also says, like, she was known for mental instability, her mom was mentally unstable and an alcoholic, so maybe she went crazy and killed these people, and her dad covered it up. Did Sheriff Tompkins, cover for her? That kind of stuff. So, as this guy's digging up information for his podcast, he's more or less going around Elm Street, which didn't really recover from that. Like, it's moving on. It's not like in the other Elm Street movies where it constantly feels like it's plagued by those deaths. It's more like it's a scar. Like, it's very much like how Haddonfield is like, those murders happened, they were awful, but we're trying to move on from that, and we don't want to be known as the Elm Street Killer, the town of the Elm Street Killer. So, as he's digging this up, he's like, this guy who's, like, digging this up is told, don't go digging for this. There was, like, he's noticing, like, files are blacked out and stuff like that. And as he does, like, he's starting to have, like, more and more frequent bad dreams. Like, this guy, his mind is starting to be, like, woken up and seeing, like, a man in a man in a sweater, like a man with claws. Obviously, it's Freddy. And how I would utilize Freddy is more like... I think I would utilize Freddy more like the shark in Jaws. Like, you don't see him a lot, but he's there, and it's back to, like, Freddy, like, being the monster in the shadows. Like, the guy, when you go to sleep, you're afraid of him. But I'd really love to play with the idea that, you know, the drugs and alcohol and this guy's past is really starting to, like, eat at him, and that's what he's chalking it up to, like, stress. But the more, like, he delves deeper and deeper into this mystery of how... of this... Because the other thing, obviously, that was known was, you know, Fred Krueger getting murdered by the parents. So it's two tragedies, and he's slowly, like, putting together, like, what's going on here. And as he does, I wanted to bring back the whole, the more you talk about Freddy, the more power you're giving to him. Like, the more he digs this up, the more, like, Freddy gets power. They've been holding it. And I would bring back, Nancy. I would have it that she's locked up in Weston Hills, because of a mental breakdown, and her mother's quote-unquote suicide at the end of it. So she's been kind of in a mental institution, and he even, like, the guy even asked, like, is it like she's been a wacko for the whole time? It's like, no, she's free to go, she just won't leave. Like, we can't get her to leave. And obviously she's taking the hypnosil there to keep Freddy from, you know, invading her dreams. So yeah, that's how I kind of imagine it, is like Freddy, like, again, like, Robert Englund is not getting any younger, and he wants to do at least one more movie. And I think, like, it would be kind of cool to make it like Freddy is just this monster that keeps creeping up. And it's not like your typical, like, slasher film. This would not be a typical slasher film. This would be more like a mystery film, like a horror noir kind of story. But it's just one guy, and he's slowly, like, it's a this would be definitely a psychological thriller than anything else. There would be, like, a few people killed, but it'd be more along the lines of this guy is slowly slipping into madness, and Freddy is getting closer and closer, like a shark circling its prey. So that's how I kind of imagine. That's how I kind of imagine this. That's my pitch for a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Definitely be darker. Definitely, like, Freddy makes jokes, but you don't hear him a lot. Like, I would have Freddy talk to him and make some really, like, dark jokes, but it wouldn't be like Freddy's Dead level jokes. He'd be making, like, really, like, dark humor and really, like, messing with the guy. Like, he would make this, make the podcaster have, like, dreams of, you know, all the police evidence he's tampered with, and all, like, the body, like, the victims of investigations he's ruined, like, come at him and stuff like that. And really, like, as he's, like, slowly falling into madness, like, people are like, yeah, you're on the pills again, great. So anyway, but you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of this pitch? Do you guys like it, hate it? And how would you pitch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie? What is your pitch for a Nightmare on Elm Street film? Just comment below, let me know, and as always, if you want to check out some exclusive videos, such as the Venom Let There Be Carnage review, hit the link below to my Patreon and become a Patreon there. Anyway, and other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.